The night sky over Seoul glowed with strange lights. Dr. Geo Park looked up from his paperwork at the animal shelter and frowned. Those were not stars or planes. They moved too strangely. "That's weird," he said to himself. He pushed his chair back and walked to the window. The lights grew brighter, moving in perfect circles above the city. In the shelter behind him, the animals began to act strange. Dogs barked loudly, cats hissed and ran around their cages. Even the birds flapped their wings hard against their cages. "It's okay, everyone," Jiho said, turning to calm them. But the animals grew more upset. Miles above Earth, Commander Tolvex of the Draxian Empire stood on the bridge of his massive ship. His gray skin shimmered under the blue lights of the control panels. He watched the screens showing Earth with cold eyes. "Have we found the ruling species yet?" he asked his science officer. "Yes, Commander," said Kira, tapping on her screen. "But they are not what we expected." She showed him pictures of dogs, cats, birds, and other pets. These creatures live with the walking bipeds. They are treated with great care. The bipeds feed them, clean them, and seem to serve them. "We believe these must be the true rulers of this planet." Tolvex nodded. This made sense to him. On his world, the stronger always ruled the weaker. These animals must control the humans in some way. "Begin the collection," he ordered. "Take as many of these ruling species as possible. We need to learn their secrets." Across Earth, thousands of Draxian ships dropped from the sky. They hovered over homes, parks, and animal shelters. Beams of blue light shot down. Where they touched, animals vanished. In his shelter, Jiho was trying to calm a golden retriever named Buddy when the ceiling began to glow blue. He stepped back, eyes wide with fear and surprise. "What on earth?" he whispered. The blue light grew brighter. Joe covered his eyes. When he opened them again, all the cages were empty. Buddy, the cats, the birds, all gone. Not a single animal remained in the shelter. He ran outside. People stood in the streets, confused and scared. A woman cried, holding an empty leash. A man called for his missing dog. Everywhere, people looked for their pets that had vanished. Jiho pulled out his phone and called the police, but they were already overwhelmed with calls. This wasn't just happening at his shelter. It was happening everywhere. In her apartment across the city, 10-year-old Subin Kim woke up to find her bed empty. Her cat Miso, who always slept by her feet, was gone. She called for her, looking under the bed and in the closet. Her parents helped her search the whole apartment, but Miso had disappeared. On the news, reports came in from all over the world. In New York, London, Tokyo, Sydney, pets had vanished everywhere at the same time. Scientists were confused. Governments had no answers. Aboard the Draxian ship, rows and rows of Earth animals sat in special containers. Dogs whined. Cats meowed. Birds chirped. The Draxians walked among them, studying them carefully. "Look how they try to communicate," Kyra said, watching a small dog pawing at the clear wall of its container. "They must have great intelligence to rule a whole planet." "Begin the tests," Tolvex ordered. "I want to know how these small creatures control the bipeds. What power do they have that we might use?" Kyra bowed slightly. "Yes, Commander. But what if we're wrong? What if they're not the rulers?" Tolvex glared at her. "Do not question our research. These must be the dominant species. Why else would the bipeds serve them with such devotion? Now, prepare for Phase 2 of our mission." As the ship moved away from Earth, Kyra looked back at the blue planet. Something didn't feel right about their mission. But she said nothing as the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, carrying Earth's beloved pets into the depths of space. 3 days had passed since the great pet abduction. Inside the massive Draxian mothership, senior biological researcher Kira walked between rows of transparent containers. Each held animals from Earth: dogs, cats, rabbits, birds, and many others. She stopped in front of a container with a golden retriever inside. "This one is from the shelter in Seoul," said her assistant Dune. He was younger than Kyra, with lighter gray skin. The data says his name is Buddy. Kyra checked her screen. Yes. And has he shown any signs of advanced intelligence? Any attempt to communicate or use tools? Dune shook his head. No, none of them have. This was not what the Draxians had expected. They had been so sure these animals were Earth's true rulers. But after 3 days of tests, they had found no evidence of advanced thinking. The animals were smart, yes, but not the kind of smart that builds cities or makes technology. Perhaps we need more time, Kyra said, but she sounded doubtful. As they walked, Buddy pressed his nose against the clear wall of his container. His tail wagged when he saw them. Dune stopped and looked at him. What is he doing? Dune asked. Why does he move his tail like that? It seems to be a greeting, Kyra replied. Many of the canine specimens do this. Dune stared at Buddy. The dog stared back, then sat down and raised his paw against the wall. Without thinking, Dune placed his gray hand on the other side. What are you doing? Kyra asked sharply. I don't know, Dune said, confused by his own action. It felt right somehow. Kyra was about to scold him when Commander Tolvex entered the lab. He looked angry. Report, he demanded. Have you discovered how these creatures control the bipeds? Kyra hesitated. Commander, we have found no evidence that these animals rule the planet. They appear to be companions to the bipeds, not their masters. Impossible, Tolvex snapped. We saw how the bipeds served them. They provided food, shelter, and care. Explain this. I cannot, Commander. But perhaps we misunderstood what we saw. Tolvex glared at the animals. Continue your tests. Find the truth. He turned to leave, then noticed Dune still standing with his hand against Buddy's container. What is that researcher doing? He was establishing contact, Kyra said quickly. Do not get attached to the specimens, Tolvex warned. Emotions cloud judgment. That is why we evolved beyond them. He left the lab. When he was gone, Kyra looked at the video screens showing Earth. On one screen, she saw a small girl crying, holding a picture of a cat. On another, a man searched a park, calling out a name over and over. They were looking for their missing animals. Why do they care so much? She wondered aloud. She turned back to see Dune sneaking a small treat into Buddy's container. The dog ate it happily, then licked Dune's fingers through a small feeding slot. What are you doing? Kyra asked, but she wasn't angry. I like how it feels when he does that, Dune admitted. It creates a strange sensation here. He touched his chest. Kyra had never seen anything like this. Draxians did not keep pets. They had no bonds with other species. Their society valued logic and efficiency. Emotions were seen as primitive and had been bred out of their people generations ago. But watching Dune with Buddy, she felt something stir inside her, something forgotten. That night, Kyra stayed late in the lab. She played videos of Earth people with their pets. Children hugging dogs, old people talking to cats, families playing with their animals. Computer, she said, search all data for information on human-animal bonds. As the computer worked, Kyra made a decision. She needed to understand this connection. And to do that, she needed to study the humans too. In her private quarters, she drafted a new research proposal for Commander Tolvex. Request to collect human specimens for comprehensive study of Earth's social hierarchy. 2 weeks after the pets vanished, Dr. Geo Park still couldn't sleep. Every night, he stayed late at the empty animal shelter, looking through reports of missing animals and making calls. He felt responsible for the pets that had disappeared on his watch. Tonight, he sat at his desk reviewing security camera footage from the night of the abduction. The blue light had appeared, and then the animals were gone. It made no sense. There has to be an explanation, he muttered to himself. Suddenly, the lights in the shelter flickered. Joe looked up, his heart beating faster. The same blue glow from 2 weeks ago, began to shine through the windows. "No, not again," he whispered. He grabbed his phone to call for help, but before he could dial, the blue light grew blindingly bright. Gio felt his body tingle. Then everything went dark. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on a cold metal floor in a large room with bright white walls. Several other people were there too, looking confused and scared. Among them was a small girl hugging her knees to her chest. "Where are we?" the girl asked in Korean. "I want to go home." Gio moved to sit beside her. "My name is Dr. Park. What's your name?" "Subin," she said quietly. "Kim Subin." "Don't worry, Subin. We'll figure this out," Gio said, though he had no idea where they were or what had happened. A door slid open with a soft hiss. 2 tall, gray-skinned beings walked in. The humans gasped and moved back. The aliens had no hair, large eyes, and wore matching blue uniforms. "Welcome," said the taller one in perfect Korean. "I am Senior Researcher Kara. This is my assistant, Dune. You are aboard our research vessel." "You're the ones who took our pets," Gio said, standing up. Kyra looked at him with interest. "Yes, we are studying them. And now we wish to study you as well." "Take us back home," demanded a man in the group. "In time," Kyra replied. "First, we need to understand your relationship with the other Earth species." She tapped a panel on the wall. A section slid open, revealing a long corridor lined with the transparent containers holding Earth's pets. The humans rushed forward. "Miso," Subin cried out, pressing her hands against a container holding a calico cat. The cat meowed and pawed at the wall separating them. Gio walked slowly down the corridor, checking each container. Then he saw him. Buddy, the golden retriever from his shelter. The dog barked excitedly, tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. "Buddy," Gio whispered, his eyes filling with tears. "You're okay." Kyra watched closely as the humans reunited with the animals. She had never seen such powerful emotional displays from any species. "Why did you take them?" Gio asked, turning to face her. "We believe they were your planet's ruling species," Kyra explained. "We observed how you care for them, feed them, clean up after them. On our world, only the powerful are served." Gio almost laughed despite the situation. "You thought our pets were in charge. No, they're our companions, our friends. We take care of them because we love them." "Love." Kyra repeated the word as if testing it. "This is a concept we do not fully understand." Dune moved closer to Buddy's container. The dog remembered him and wagged his tail. "See how he greets Dune," Gio said. "Dogs can form bonds with anyone who treats them with kindness." Kyra looked thoughtful. "Interesting. This bond is something we have observed but do not comprehend." She tapped her screen, and the walls of the containers began to lower. The pets rushed to their humans. Subin hugged Miso tightly, crying with joy. Buddy bounded to Gio, jumping up to lick his face. The Draxians watched in fascination. Kyra made notes while Dune seemed transfixed by the reunions. "You will help us understand this connection," Kyra told Gio. "It may be more valuable than any technology we could have found on your planet." Commander Tolvex watched this scene on a monitor from his private quarters. He frowned deeply. This was not what he had expected. These emotional displays were primitive, unnecessary. But the High Council wanted results, and if studying these humans and their animals would provide useful information, he would allow it. For now, a week passed on the Draxian ship. The humans were given comfortable rooms, and their pets stayed with them. It wasn't home, but it was better than the cold containers. Kyra had set up a special room for interviews. Today, she sat across from Gio, with Buddy lying at his feet. A small recording device floated in the air between them. "Let us continue our discussion about pets," Kyra said. "This concept does not exist in Draxian society. You've never had animals as companions?" Gio asked, surprised. Kyra shook her head. We use other species only for food or labor. The idea of keeping an animal for friendship is strange to us. But don't you feel lonely sometimes? Jiho scratched behind Buddy's ears, and the dog leaned into his touch with happy eyes. Loneliness is an emotion, Kyra explained. Draxians removed emotions from our genetic code 500 years ago. We found them inefficient. Jiho stared at her. You removed emotions. All of them. Yes. Emotions caused wars, delayed progress, and created unnecessary suffering. We are better without them. Jiho looked down at Buddy, then back at Kyra. But without emotions, how do you connect with each other? How do you find meaning in life? Kyra tilted her head. We focus on advancement, progress, knowledge. These are better goals than emotional satisfaction. In another room, Dune watched Subin play with Miso and several other children with their pets. The children had created a small obstacle course using pillows and blankets. They cheered as a small dog jumped over a pillow. What are they doing? Dune asked another researcher. They call it play. The researcher replied. It seems to have no purpose, yet they spend much energy on it. Dune watched as Subin held up a toy, and Miso jumped to catch it. Both the girl and the cat seemed to enjoy this simple game. May I try? Dune asked suddenly. The researcher looked shocked. That would not be proper scientific observation. But Dune had already moved toward the children. Subin noticed him and smiled. Do you want to play with Miso? She asked, holding out a small toy mouse. Dune took it carefully. He had never played before. He moved the toy slowly, and Miso followed it with her eyes. When he tossed it gently, the cat pounced. The children laughed, and to everyone's surprise, Dune made a small sound that might have been a laugh too. Back in the interview room, Kyra showed Jiho images of Earth history on a screen. Your species has had many wars, she said. You fight over resources, beliefs, territory, all because of emotions. Yes, Jiho agreed. Emotions like hate and fear have caused terrible suffering. But emotions also gave us art, music, and love. They gave us the bond we share with animals. Kyra pointed to a new image of a hospital. Explain why humans dedicate resources to caring for sick animals that serve no practical purpose. Because we love them, Jiho said simply. They're family. Family is a biological connection, Kyra stated. Not always. Family can be chosen. Buddy here isn't my biological relative, but I care about what happens to him. Kyra made notes on her screen. This contradicts Draxian philosophy. We believe in helping only those who can help us in return. Then you're missing out on one of life's greatest joys, Jiho said. That night, Kyra reviewed her recordings. The humans' attachment to animals made no logical sense, yet it seemed to bring them great happiness. Could there be value in this emotional connection that Draxians had overlooked? On her screen, she watched Dune playing with the children and their pets. His behavior was highly irregular. He would need correction soon. Yet something kept her from reporting him. Commander Tolvex entered her office without knocking. The High Council wants a progress report, he demanded. Kara quickly changed her screen. I am learning much about human-animal bonding patterns. Good, Tolvex nodded. Learn their weaknesses. Then we can determine if their planet is worth conquering. After he left, Kyra sat quietly in the dark. For the first time in her life, she wondered if the Draxians had made a terrible mistake when they eliminated emotions from their lives. 1 month after the humans arrived on the ship, Kyra made a bold proposal to the High Council. She wanted to create a space where humans and pets could interact naturally, a simulated Earth environment for deeper study. To her surprise, the Council approved. 3 days later, a large section of the ship was transformed into what looked like a park with grass, trees, and a small building that resembled Jiho's animal shelter. This is amazing, Jiho said as he walked through the fake grass. Buddy ran ahead, sniffing everything with excitement. It feels almost like home. That is the purpose, Kyra explained. We want to observe natural behaviors. Subin and the other children were delighted with the new space. They could run and play with their pets without the cold metal walls surrounding them. Miso climbed a small tree and watched everything from above. Look, Miso found a high place, Subin called to Kyra. Cats like to climb so they can see everything. Kyra made a note on her screen. Interesting. A defensive behavior. No, just a cat thing. Subin laughed. They're curious. Over the next few days, something unexpected happened. Young Draxian researchers began to spend more time in the simulated Earth environment. They watched the humans and animals with growing interest. Some even asked to help Joe as he checked the health of the animals. Jiho turned the shelter building into a teaching space. He showed the Draxians how to brush a dog's fur, how to tell if a cat was happy or upset, and how to hold a small animal gently. Like this, he demonstrated, cradling a rabbit. Support their back legs so they feel safe. A young Draxian named Lani tried to copy him. At first, she was stiff and awkward, but the rabbit seemed to relax in her arms. A strange expression crossed Lani's face. "What is this feeling?" she asked Joe. "It is pleasant." "That's happiness," Joe said with a smile. "You're feeling happy because the rabbit trusts you." Commander Tolvex watched these sessions from the control room. He did not like what he saw. Too many of his crew were spending time with the humans and animals. They were starting to act differently, less efficient, more emotional. "This has gone too far," he told his second-in-command. "These interactions are corrupting our researchers." "But the High Council ordered the study," his officer reminded him. "I know," Tolvex grumbled, "but they do not see the danger. These emotions are like a disease spreading through our ship." In the park area, Subin was teaching a group of young Draxians how to understand cat behavior. Miso sat in the middle, grooming herself. "See how her tail moves slowly. That means she's relaxed," Subin explained. "But if it moves fast like this," she mimicked a quick tail flick, "she might be annoyed." "How do you know all this without words?" asked a Draxian. "You just learned to read their body language," Subin said. "Like how I know you're confused right now because your head is tilted." The Draxian straightened quickly, surprised. Across the room, Dune had become Buddy's favorite Draxian. The golden retriever followed him everywhere. Dune had even started keeping dog treats in his pocket. Kyra found Dune sitting on the grass, throwing a ball for Buddy. The dog would run, fetch it, and bring it back again and again. "This activity seems pointless," Kyra noted. "Yet both you and the animal appear to enjoy it." "It is not pointless," Dune said. "It is building trust, building a bond." "These are emotional concepts," Kyra reminded him. "Be careful, Dune. Commander Tolvex is watching all of us." Dune looked up at her. "Have you ever wondered why we removed emotions, Kyra? What if it was a mistake?" Kyra glanced around to make sure no one else heard. Such questions are dangerous. Before Dune could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Red lights flashed on the walls. "All senior staff report to Medical Bay immediately," a voice announced over the speakers. Kyra's screen lit up with an urgent message. Her eyes widened as she read it. "What is it?" Joe asked, seeing her expression change. "A sickness has broken out among the crew," Kyra said quietly. "Something our medicine cannot cure." The medical bay was full of sick Draxians. They lay on beds, their gray skin now pale and covered with small blue spots. Doctors moved between them, checking screens and giving medicines, but nothing seemed to help. "What is happening?" Kyra asked the head doctor. "We do not know," the doctor replied. "The illness appeared 3 days ago. It spreads quickly. Our medicines do not work against it." Commander Tolvex stood in the corner, his face hard with worry. "How many are sick?" 47 crew members, the doctor said, "and more show symptoms every hour." Tolvex turned to Kyra. "Could this be related to the Earth specimens?" "I do not think so," Kyra said. The humans and animals are all healthy. Test them anyway, Tolvex ordered, and keep them away from our crew until we know more. Back in the Earth habitat, Kyra explained the situation to Geo. She needed to test all the humans and animals for the strange disease. I can help, Geo offered. I'm a veterinarian, an animal doctor. I know about diseases that can pass between species. Kyra hesitated. Our commander would not approve. You don't have time to worry about that, Geo said. Your people are sick. Let me see if I can help. After a moment, Kyra nodded. She took Geo to a small lab connected to the medical bay. There, he looked at samples from the sick Draxians under a special microscope. This is unlike anything I've seen before, Geo admitted, but I can tell it's a virus, not a bacteria. For hours, Geo and Kira worked together. They tested different medicines, but nothing worked. More Draxians fell ill. The ship's doctors said that if they didn't find a cure soon, many would die. Late that night, Geo sat with his head in his hands. He was tired and worried. Buddy lay at his feet, sensing his mood. I need to think differently, Geo said to himself. What am I missing? Buddy put his head on Geo's knee. Without thinking, Geo reached down to pet him. As his hand touched Buddy's fur, he felt calmer, clearer. Wait a minute, he said suddenly. Kyra, do any of the sick Draxians work with the animals? Kyra checked her screen. No, none of them have visited the Earth habitat regularly. What about Dune? Is he sick? No, Kyra said. He spends more time with the Earth animals than anyone, but he is completely healthy. Geo stood up, excited. I need to see Dune's medical readings, and we need to test something. In the medical lab, Geo compared the blood samples of sick Draxians with Dune's blood. There was a small but important difference. Look at this, Geo pointed to the screen. Dune has higher levels of oxytocin in his blood. What is oxytocin? Kyra asked. It's a hormone in humans and animals. It increases when we bond with others. When we pet dogs, hug people we care about, or feel connected. We call it the love hormone. Kyra looked confused. Draxians do not produce such hormones. We removed them from our genetic code. That's what you thought, Geo said. But look at Dune's blood. He has it. Small amounts, but it's there. And the sick Draxians have almost none. Geo paced the room, thinking hard. What if removing emotions didn't remove everything? What if your bodies still need these hormones to fight certain diseases? Kyra was shocked. You think our genetic modifications made us vulnerable to this virus? It's possible, Geo said. On Earth, we know that stress and loneliness can weaken the immune system. Love and connection can strengthen it. Tolvex entered the lab, looking worse than before. The blue spots had appeared on his neck. What have you found? He demanded. Kyra explained Geo's theory. Tolvex looked angry, then afraid. You suggest our advancement made us weak. That is impossible. Let me try something, Geo said. Let me bring some of the animals to the sick Draxians. If I'm right, interaction with them might help boost your natural defenses. Tolvex wanted to refuse, but he had no better ideas. More crew members were falling ill every hour. Very well, he said reluctantly. But if this fails, the humans and animals will be placed in isolation until we reach the homeworld. After Tolvex left, Kyra turned to Geo. If you're wrong, we may never see Earth again. Geo nodded, his face serious. And if I'm right, your people might have to reconsider everything they believe about emotions. The medical bay was transformed. Cats curled up on beds next to sick Draxians. Dogs lay their heads on laps or offered paws to gray hands. Birds sang from perches near the monitoring equipment. Geo moved around the room, showing the Draxian medical staff how to interact gently with the animals. Don't force it, he explained to a doctor trying to pet a small brown dog. Let them come to you. Speak softly. Feel the connection. Kyra followed behind him, recording everything on her screen. She watched as a sick researcher scratched a cat under its chin. The cat purred loudly, and the researcher's face softened. "How long before we know if this works?" Kyra asked. "It's not a normal medicine," Jiho said. "It won't work instantly, but let's check the first patients who started animal therapy yesterday." They walked to a quiet corner where Dune sat with 3 Draxians who had been among the first to fall ill. They each had a dog with them. Buddy was there too, moving between them, offering his golden head for pats. Jiho checked the medical scanner. His eyes widened. "Look at this," he showed Kira the screen. "Their oxytocin levels are rising, and the virus count in their blood is dropping." "It's working." Kyra couldn't hide her surprise. "It seems to be," Jiho nodded, "but I don't think it's just the oxytocin. I think it's the whole emotional response, the connection itself that's helping their immune systems fight back." In her room, Subin was teaching 2 young Draxians how to play with Miso using a string toy. The cat jumped and pounced while the Draxians watched with fascination. "You try now." Subin handed the toy to one of them. The Draxian moved it awkwardly at first, but soon found the right motion. Miso played happily, and the Draxian's face lit up with something that looked almost like a smile. Subin's mother watched from across the room. "You're a good teacher," she told her daughter. "It's easy," Subin said. "They just need to learn how to have fun." In the medical lab, Jiho and Kira made an even more important discovery. They had been studying samples from healthy Draxians who spent time with the animals. "This is incredible." Jiho pointed to the microscope screen. "Look what happens when we add the virus to Dune's blood sample." Kyra looked. The virus particles were being destroyed by Dune's immune cells. "His system is fighting it naturally now," Jiho explained. "And it's not just the oxytocin. His whole immune system has changed. It's stronger, more flexible." "From playing with a dog." Kyra found it hard to believe. "From forming an emotional bond," Jiho corrected. "Look at these brain scans, the parts of his brain that you thought were turned off by your genetic modifications. They're active again. Not fully, but they're waking up." Commander Tolvex entered the lab. He looked better. The blue spots were fading from his skin. He had spent yesterday with a calm old cat named Max on his lap, looking uncomfortable the entire time. But it had helped. "Report," he demanded, but his voice lacked its usual harshness. "The animal therapy is working, Commander," Kyra said. 70% of the sick crew are showing improvement. "And we've discovered something even more important," Joe added. "Your people didn't actually remove emotions from your genetic code. You just suppressed them. They're still there, just dormant." Tolvex frowned. "That is not possible. Our ancestors completely removed emotional responses." "With respect, Commander, they couldn't have," Jiho said. "Emotions aren't just feelings. They're tied to survival, to immune function, to how your body fights disease. If they had truly been removed, your species wouldn't have survived." Tolvex was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "The High Council must hear of this." That evening, Jiho found Kira standing alone in the Earth habitat, watching the stars through the artificial sky dome. "Everything I believed about my people may be wrong," she said quietly. "Not wrong." Joe stood beside her. "Just incomplete. Your ancestors thought they were making you stronger by removing emotions, but they didn't understand what they were giving up." "So what happens now?" Kyra asked. "Now," Jiho said with a small smile, "you have a choice to make, and I think it's the first real choice your people have had in a very long time." News spread quickly through the ship. The animals were healing the sick. More importantly, something was changing in the Draxians themselves. Those who spent time with the Earth pets began acting differently. They smiled. They laughed. They showed concern for others. The High Council called an emergency meeting. Kyra presented her findings with Jiho by her side. The 7 council members listened carefully as she explained how the emotional connections with animals had activated dormant parts of the Draxian brain. Our ancestors did not remove emotions, Kyra concluded. They only suppressed them, and in doing so, they may have weakened us in ways they never imagined. The oldest council member leaned forward. Are you suggesting we should reverse 500 years of Draxian progress? I am suggesting, Kyra said carefully, that what we thought was progress may have been a mistake. The council chamber erupted in argument. Half the members were outraged at the idea. The other half wanted to know more. Outside the chamber, something unexpected was happening. Younger Draxians gathered in the halls, talking excitedly about the changes they felt. Many had been working with the animals and humans. They had experienced new emotions, joy, compassion, friendship. They didn't want to give these feelings up. Dune had become their unofficial leader. We deserve the right to feel, he told the growing crowd. Our ancestors took that choice from us. We should have it back. Word of this gathering reached Commander Tolvex. Though his illness was better, he was still angry about the changes on his ship. He saw the young Draxians' behavior as a threat to everything their civilization stood for. This ends now, he told his security team. Lock down the Earth habitat. Separate the humans from the animals. This emotional contagion must be contained. Guards moved through the ship, herding the animals back into their containers. The humans protested, but were pushed back to their quarters. The young Draxians who resisted were detained. In the Earth habitat, Subin hid with Misso under a fake tree as guards searched for remaining animals. She heard them coming closer. Misso's ears flattened against her head. Stay quiet, Subin whispered to her cat. A guard's boots stopped right next to their hiding place. Subin held her breath. Then she heard a familiar voice. There's nothing here. Move to the next section. It was Dune. He had diverted the guard. After they left, he knelt down beside Subin's hiding place. Quickly, he said, we need your help. Dune led Subin through back corridors to a small room where Jiho, Kyra, and several young Draxians waited. Buddy was there too, along with a few other pets that hadn't been caught. Tolvex has convinced half the council that emotions are dangerous, Kyra explained. He's planning to put all humans and animals in deep sleep until we reach the Draxian homeworld. We can't let that happen, Jiho said. We need to show the council that emotions aren't just about feeling good. They make you stronger, braver, more adaptable. How? Subin asked. Before anyone could answer, alarms blared through the ship. A voice announced, Alert! Fire in Section 12. All emergency teams respond. That's near the medical bay, Kyra said, checking her screen. Many sick Draxians are still there. On the screens, they saw flames blocking the corridor to the medical bay. The fire suppression system had failed. Smoke filled the halls. Security teams stood back, analyzing the situation with cold logic. They're just standing there, Jiho said in disbelief. Why aren't they helping? They're calculating the risks, Kyra explained. If the danger is too high, they won't attempt rescue. Without hesitation, Subin ran toward the door, Misso following close behind. Subin, wait, Jiho called, running after her. But the girl was fast. She slipped past 2 guards and ran toward the smoke-filled corridor. Misso darted ahead, her low position keeping her under the worst of the smoke. The council members, watching on emergency screens, were shocked to see a small human child rushing toward danger. Even more shocking was what happened next. Dune and several young Draxians ran after her, not calculating, not analyzing, just running to help. Commander Tolvex watched in horror. Stop them. They'll disrupt emergency protocols. But it was too late. The revolution had begun. 1 year had passed since the fire on the Draxian ship. That day had changed everything. Subin and Misso had led the rescue team through the smoke. Misso, with her keen senses, found paths that weren't filled with smoke. The young Draxians followed, pulling sick patients from their beds and carrying them to safety. They didn't calculate risks or analyze data. They just helped. When Commander Tolvex saw the rescue on the screens, something had changed in him too. For the first time in his life, he felt something stir inside his chest, a feeling of pride, of hope. Now, on a bright spring day, Jiho stood in his rebuilt animal shelter in Seoul. The door opened, and a tall gray figure walked in. Kyra. Joe smiled. Welcome back to Earth. Kyra looked different than she had a year ago. Her face showed more expression, and she walked with a relaxed ease that no Draxian had shown before. The diplomatic team just arrived, she said. I wanted to visit you first. After the events on the ship, the Draxians had returned all humans and pets to Earth. Then they had done something unprecedented. They had asked permission to establish peaceful contact with Earth governments. Not as conquerors, but as students. How are things on the homeworld? Joe asked as he checked on a puppy in a cage. Changing, Kyra said. Slowly, but deeply. The young are leading the way. Many have adopted Earth animals. She reached into her pocket and showed Joe a small device. It projected a hologram of her home, where a small brown dog slept on a cushion. This is Haru, she said with obvious pride. She was a stray from Tokyo. She looks happy, Joe said. She has taught me more than all my years of scientific study, Kyra admitted. The council was right to make new policy. The new Draxian policy was called the Emotional Restoration Initiative. It had begun with stopping the genetic treatments that suppressed emotions in Draxian babies. Adults could choose to undergo reversal therapy if they wished. Many did, especially after seeing the strength and resilience of those who had reconnected with their emotions. Outside the shelter, a small crowd gathered. It was time for Subin's class. Now 11 years old, she had become a teacher to young Draxians who came to Earth to learn about animal care. Today we'll learn about how dogs show they're happy, Subin told the 5 gray-skinned children sitting cross-legged before her. Miso sat regally by her side, supervising the lesson. One Draxian child raised her hand. Is it true you saved many lives during the Great Fire? Subin blushed. Miso did most of the work. I just followed her. But you were brave, the child insisted. You didn't calculate risks. You just helped. That's what humans do, Subin said simply. When someone needs help, we help them. Across the city, in a government building, Dune presented Earth leaders with gifts of Draxian technology, clean energy systems, medical advances, and communication devices. In exchange, Earth provided something the Draxians now valued more than any technology: knowledge about emotional intelligence and animal-human bonds. That evening, Jiho and Kira sat on a hill overlooking the city. Buddy lay between them, his golden head resting on Jiho's knee. We came to Earth looking for advanced intelligence, Kyra said, watching the sunset. We thought we would find it in technology or weapons or science. And instead you found it in pets, Jiho smiled. We found it in connection, Kyra corrected. In love, friendship, compassion. All the things we thought made us weak, but actually make us strong. In a small ship orbiting Earth, Commander Tolvex, now Ambassador Tolvex, sat alone in his quarters. He had fought the changes at first, clinging to the old Draxian ways. But after the Great Fire, even he couldn't deny what he had seen. A small noise made him turn. A gray cat with green eyes had followed him onto his ship during the last Earth visit. He had meant to return it, but somehow never did. The cat jumped onto his lap and purred. Tolvex hesitated, then slowly stroked its fur. A small smile formed on his face, the smile of someone discovering, very late in life, what it means to care for another living being. Perhaps, he whispered to the cat, you are the true advanced species after all.